here today I would like to discuss with you importance of emotional processing. Many of us in spiritual community, and I live in spiritual community, I see this every day. Many of us in spiritual communities tend to have a desire to bypass emotional processing because we tapped into our spiritual gifts and we think that we are now good. I would like to suggest here that the fact that we have our gifts and abilities, even access to multidimensional realms, ability to interact with beings or interact with higher self and higher selves and various expressions of self. That does not mean that our human energetic space and our human emotional space is healthy or processed, or that it does not need our work and our attention. A lot of us also try to attribute our own emotional states to entities and parasites and implants and all of that. And yes, all of that does exist for sure, but in my own opinion, for the entities of the lower denomination to come into your space, you have to have an opening. And these openings are created through our own emotional states. So I am a great supporter of covering all grounds when it comes to both self-work and also work with our clients. Because if the emotional space is let's just say unprocessed, right? And there is a lot of ups and downs going on, when there is anger, when there is suffering, when there are flip outs, where did that come from kind of situation. When the person that does not have full self-awareness, and get into full self-awareness, that's a long road, that's a process. But if a person does not have enough or a high enough level of self-awareness, they're going to try to pin that onto entities. And say, hey, there's that entity that's in the way of my abundance, or there's that entity that's driving me to be angry, or there's that entity that's whatever, pushing me towards suffering. Yes, entities definitely come in and definitely amplify our own states of being. Because for them to come in, for them to be able to attach to you, to your auric field, to your body, to your state, there has to be a match somewhere. It works the same exact way as with everything else, right? We create our states of being. Through our states of being, we create our reality. Our reality brings us people and experiences and events that match our own state of being. It's the same exact way with entities too. And that is my own personal opinion. If you have a different opinion, I respect that opinion as well. But I am right now speaking from my own personal opinion. So my own personal opinion is that entities would help us. We don't want to kind of help, of course, but they would kind of help us see where we are at in our own emotional state in 3D, 4D, 4.5D. All these realms are linked to human drama, human suffering, human state of misalignment, let's just say, or human state of being out of balance. So let's examine a couple of scenarios here that I'm talking about as far as emotional processing. Let's say a person who as a child was treated as a nuisance, or someone who is in the way of their parents, someone who is an inconvenience, and was told to shut up and get out of the room, and you're in my way, you interrupted me, get out of my face, all of that good stuff, right? That person would have a really hard time expressing their needs or reaching out to fulfill their needs as a grown-up. They would also constantly probably try to please the parents so that the parents would receive them better, right? That whole scenario creates massive self-worth issues there for the child. Of course, these are matched through incarnations of all kinds of crap and this and that, but we're talking about what's happening here in this reality, because I am a believer that everything we have to cover the bases, the base, 3D, 4D, 5D, then we expand into higher Ds, higher dimensional states, where they're just the states of consciousness. But if the root is rotten, if the root is unprocessed, that's always that. Oh, okay. So here's what happens. That's going to get louder and louder and louder, and no matter how much entity work you do and how much you remove these from your field, they're going to be right back. It's only going to work for a very short period of time, because if a person goes right back to the same patterns that are still in the subconscious space that the person is not aware of, or what's driving them where and why, and if the person has not faced that and became conscious and self-aware enough to stop playing these scenarios, to stop playing these patterns, the entities are going to be right back. So yeah, good for you. Good for the healer that's doing your entity work, because that's employment for life. But the discomfort with life is going to be more and more amplified. It's going to get louder and louder and louder, especially if you are in the space of healing work, especially if you are on a spiritual path and a spiritual journey, because your bottom of the barrel is going to be pushing you towards processing of what's there, and avoiding that space, or refusing to look at it, hiding away from, or rejecting that whole part of self, really leads nowhere. So the person who is unable to receive their own needs, or requests, or reach out for their own needs, because as a child they were rejected, as a child they were treated as an inconvenience, for example, right? That person would find a beautiful space in the spiritual community saying, I am all selfless, and I am completely service to others, and I do my service so much, and I sacrifice myself so much. So the service to others becomes that constant validation of that empty space internally, or that hurt space internally. So that person is going to be constantly running for service to others, in rejecting their own needs, rejecting their own comfort, rejecting their own energetic state, because they are used to, from that childhood condition, and they're used to not receiving the space where their needs could be met, their emotional needs, or their energetic needs, or their comfort needs, or their love needs, their needs as a human being. And so our service to others paradigm, which is definitely where we are at right now, and we're supposed to be there between 51 and 73%, but the rest is supposed to be service to our own well-being, because the better we are in our own space, the more effective we are for others. The more we've learned, the more we've healed our own space, our own internal emotional state of being, the more we can teach others. We're literally all being initiated through our childhood traumas, through our heartbreaks and suffering, and you name it, all the drama that we've been through, well, before we were awakened, for example, right? Or even during our journeys. All of that is training so that we could be more effective in helping others to move past that space. There's that ancient saying that, or there was an ancient tradition, I believe, in the tribal times where the healer was not allowed to work on someone with a specific disease if the healer did not have that disease themselves. If that healer had that disease and overcame that disease and healed themselves, they were allowed, permitted to work on the ones who came to him with the same condition. It's very much the same in the realm of energetic, emotional, and spiritual work here too, I believe. Then let's take a look at the scenario when someone is like in childhood. If someone is or was treated as an unwanted child, or someone was treated as, this someone who is a black sheep compared to their, I don't know, bright shining brother or bright shining sister or something like that, right? So that person is going to either develop super high competitiveness, and so no spiritual talk is going to stop that, stop their trait to always try to outsmart the other, or it's going to develop the massive self-worth issues, and so that person internally is going to feel that they don't deserve, and thus they cannot receive, and so they're going to blame entities for interrupting their flow of abundance all the time. But the truth is, that could be the most powerful manifester there is, and a lot of us are very powerful manifestors, but they're not going to be able to retain what they manifest, or their manifesting is going to be so sporadic. There's going to be just like ups and downs in manifesting, and the person is going to say, wow, what happened? I was I thought I just got there, bam, it's down again. The abundance flow, financial flow, romances, all of the experiences in life around us are reflecting our own state of being. So if the internal state of being is that I am not worthy of receiving, or I'm not good enough to be loved, or I am always second to, or not good enough, not as good as others, for example, that person is going to create scenarios that sabotage their receiving, that sabotage their manifesting, that sabotage their love affairs, or not affairs, but romance and relationships. And then they're going to blame entities and say, oh my God, there's that 4.5D blah, blah, blah came in and screwed me up. Well, maybe they did. And they probably did. Yes, that's true. But the door of unconscious pattern is wide open. And that's why these entities are able to come in and assist you in sabotaging yourself. So that's why the manifesting is so difficult for the ones who have self-worth issues or receiving issues. So these are just a few scenarios, and I can go on and on and on for you here, but I wanted to bring this up for you to consider. I'm not suggesting that you need to go to, for a psychotherapy that is going to take 30 years, because it's, by definition, it's not meant to help you. Same as the rest of the medical industry, and I apologize to all the doctors here who went into that space with good intentions, but the whole industry is not set up to help you. The whole industry is set up to keep milking your money for 30 years, talking about the same thing. So when you're focusing on the problem gets bigger. We know that, right? So what I'm suggesting here is doing either self-work or going to maybe alternative practitioners like myself, for example, where we could take a look at your behavior and pin down, find those patterns that are in the blind spot for you in this lifetime, and see how that is affecting the rest of your reality. See how it is bringing or allowing in entities. See how it is affecting your abundance. See how it is affecting your romance. See how it is affecting your whole entire state of being, your service in from the space of self-sacrifice, for example, all of that. And we're not going to talk about the problem for 30 years. We're going to find the pattern. We're going to become conscious of behaviors that support that pattern, and we're going to create new type of behaviors. And if you need a coach or someone to get you through this process, I am the one who does that kind of work. But very well, you can do this on your own too. Another thing to be said here is when we lived with our parents as children, and the parents, of course, carry a whole bunch of stuff themselves, and the older the parents, the less awareness there was about all this, what I'm talking about here, right? Unless they were specialists in the field. We had no choice but to absorb their state of being. And so eventually, as we grow up, we kind of become them, or we were them. And we're not even aware that, for example, if a mother or father had abandonment issues or commitment issues or self-worth issues, oh God, all of that. Not only that they treated us in a way that reflected all that, and so we got that through behavioral conditioning, but also we absorb that with their energy, through their energetic field. If that's their constant state of being, if they're in, for example, an insecurity or anger is a constant state of being, we just sucked it right into our own state of being, right into our own energetic field. And then we'll walk away, we'll move away, and then all of a sudden we'll say, how come I'm acting like my mother? Or how come I'm talking like my dad? Or how come I'm flipping out like my dad, for example, right? Well, there is a way to let go of that as well. And I could assist again as a specialist for you, or here's what worked for me. I did that work for my own self, and trust me, it's a process. I'm doing that work all the time because stuff keeps coming up. We're human here, and I think the bottom or level one of this video game of process in life is that's what we came here for, that's the whole human thing. And yes, it is true that once you move through specific energetic or specific emotional issue, more energy becomes available for you to tap deeper into your multidimensional gifts. It is true for sure, but it also makes your whole life so much better. And there is no more, like, you get rid of those surprises, like, oh my God, why did I do that again? Like, that doesn't happen anymore because you're conscious and you're aware. But there are patterns that are definitely hiding in the subconscious. Carl Jung said that until we make the subconscious conscious, we will call it fate, right? Or we'll blame entities. Oh my God, where was I there? There was a good thought there somewhere, right? But I just totally sidetracked here. In any case, so for the ones who, for your patterns, how you can work with your parents' patterns. You can actually meet with your parents, whether they're alive or passed on. You can meet with them in the space of soul streams, or in the non-physical space. You can call in the souls of your parents and interact with them and say, hey, I am no longer available to carry the imprints that were created through your through your incarnations, through your karmic journey, and through this lifetime as well. I'm a sovereign being now. I love you. Let's meet in the beautiful space of neutral divine love and move past all of that. I'm releasing myself from all that. Please, I request your permission to be released from all that. And you know what? For me, that worked. Because your parents they could be met in angelic realm. Seriously, it depends on like how where they are, where they're coming from, and in my particular case, that worked. And so the main thing here is to move yourself, or keep moving yourself closer and closer into the space of neutrality, the neutral 0 point. The neutral emotional 0 point, meaning the space of the ultimate observer, where you know your emotions, where you understand where they're coming from, when you know your patterns, when you understand what's driving you, when your subconscious is no longer full of crazy surprises. Of course, there are going to be surprises, like I said, but the more you work on yourself, the less amount of surprises there are going to be, and the less availability there will be for entities to come in and amplify those patterns within you, and for you to keep playing the self-jeopardizing, the self-sacrificing, the victim game, or God, all of this stuff that we do when our emotional stuff is unprocessed in 3, 4, 4.5D. All right, guys, I've talked a lot here. If you'd like to have a session with me, you can reach me at IsabellaGreene.com. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. You can catch me here on Facebook. I love you. Thank you for tuning in today. Take care. Namaste.